Hey guys, I'm Dan.
And I'm Bob.
And this is the Board Game Rundown. And today we're looking at Letter Jam by CGE. This is a 2 to 6 player cooperative word game, word deduction game. So to play, first we each chose a word. Right?
We did. We were dealt out a bunch of cards,
Right.
And we had to assemble a word in our hand.
Yeah, we basically split the deck in half. You just go through that and you make a 5-letter word, right?
Yep.
So my 5-letter word was these is what I chose.
Okay.
Yes, I liked that.
I did flush.
Yeah, very on theme. I liked that. Then you give your word face down to...
Shuffle up.
Yeah, well, you would shuffle it, yes, and you give it to the next player to the right. This was a 2-player game here, so we just gave it to each other. We didn't get to look at it. We lay it in front of us like this. This is what all these cards are. So this was Bob's word that he chose, and then the first letter goes up and faces Bob, right?
Yep.
And so this would have been a letter from my word facing me. There is a card that goes in the middle here. This is just like a wild card. You can use it once per word for any letter you want. And then there are these piles that are made up dependent on player count of just random letters that are kind of here for public use. Once one of these are used, they get discarded out of the game, and the next one goes here. Under each of these piles is a clue token, which we will unlock once we go through that pile. We'll get to that in a second. This is also the, I don't honestly know what this is called, but it's like this the scenario card.
Sure, yeah.
And this is a 2-player or 3-player version, as you can see. That's why we chose it. It's kind of small. I apologize. And you just line up these markers on the corresponding colors. We'll go into that more when we get into components. We just come up in our head with a word clue to give to the other person to try to help them guess their letter. So right now, I would have P, N, R, H, and T, which is his word that he has up, and I would come up with a word, and this isn't all written down. I would just look, and I would say, let's see, I have a 4-letter word for you. I use 2 of the public ones, and I use a wild card. Right? And then then he would come up with a word, and he would tell me, oh, I have this many letters or something, right?
Yeah, I don't have a word.
Okay, sure, yeah, on the spot, right? He has this many, and then we would decide who we think is that more useful clue, and we would go with that person. Let's say that we're going with mine, right? I would take a red clue marker. I could technically take one of these greens as well because they are out here. These greens get unlocked once we finish all the reds. So in a 2-player game, we can each take 3 red and 1 green before... like eventually someone can't give a clue, right? Depending on the order. So like if I just give a bunch of clues, if I give 5 clues, I take 3 red and 2 green, Bob has to give 3 clues in a row.
Yep.
Like he has to unlock the rest of them, right?
Yep.
So you kind of balance that a little bit. But so we'll say that. I then take these.
Drop them everywhere. I believe the number 1 went off the front of the table.
Number 1 did go off the front of the table. I used a 9 for this one. That was great. And then I would put them in front of the letters in order. So I would say, this is, by the way, the word was thin. That's what I went with. So I would put the 1 there, the 2 in front of the H, the 3 next to the wild card, and the 4 in front of the N. And on his little player board, he would fill that out.
All right, so since I don't know the first one, I'm going to do a question mark. And then the number 2, I would write an H. And then I do the asterisk for the wild. And then I'm going to write an N. And now I've got to think what letters could fill that question mark and have everything make sense. And on this little opened white spot, I'm like, well, it could be a T. It could be an S. It could be a W. Right? So I got a few options, right? So I can't really narrow it down. So I'm not going to tip my card over. If it could only be one thing, or if I knew what it was, I would tip my card down, signifying to Dan that, yeah, I got that clue. We're going to be good to go, and I'm going to move on to the next one. But I don't, so I leave it standing up.
He would then, let's say that he did guess. I'm going to do what you did there. So it was...
question mark.
I wrote the T because I knew it. It's question mark, H, asterisk, N. And then you had which ones?
I wrote T, S, and W.
T, S, W.
And
then let's say, oh, he figured it out because he's amazing.
So
this is what it would look like here. He has his word written out there with the asterisks and everything. He puts the ones he's guessing, like he thinks would fit there, and then if he does guess, he puts his official guess right here. And then if he tips this over, this goes back in its location, and the next card in order goes up. We're trying to get our entire word, right?
Correct.
Once we think we know the words, the game ends and we guess, I think these are the words. It's actually very funny how it words in here because it says in bold red letters, if more or less everyone has spelled a word, then you have all more or less won. That's how it words it. And the first frequently asked question is this a legal clue? No specificity, just is this a legal clue? And the answer is this, yes. Any word is a legal clue as long as you believe it's a real word. So, yes, very kind of tongue-in-cheek here. It even kind of specifies that at the end of the game, we just have to have real words that we all agree are real words, and that the person knows the meaning of.
Right.
So, technically, that doesn't sound like you even have to get the correct word. If you get the letter, you just have to get the right letters and unscramble them into a real word, not necessarily the same real word that it started as. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's great. Well, it's because technically I thought the word was sheet. It's a real word.
Right?
We more or less won,
even
even though the actual word was these. So that's probably why it does that, because you don't really know what order it's supposed to be in. But as long as it's like, hey, yeah, you made a word, you got all of the right letters, you win, more or less.
The other way to win would be if you lose, which is if you ever run out of the last green token, right, you would lose. At the end of a round, these all go back to the center, right? These, like I said, get discarded, and new ones would get put out like that. I was just showing them off to them.
Sure.
Yeah, and then again, you just go one letter at a time until at the end of the game, Bob and I just said, I think we both are confident that we know our words. Let's guess, right? And that's what it was. Now, obviously, little bit of a grain of salt here. This was a 2-player version.
Yeah.
This is definitely a game that would play differently with higher player
2 to
count.
6. That's pretty good.
Yeah, with all the people giving clues and everything. Kind of that Hanabi feel, right? That conclusio feeling, a conclusio game we talk about a lot on the show.
The thing I could see was with, like, if you had 2 people really trying to, like, because if you have, like, 4 people, it's like, I got a really good clue. No, I got a really good clue.
Right.
No, my clue's really good. Yeah, but my clue is really good.
Yeah. And meanwhile,
So,
I'm just like, I guess I'll never get
yeah,
a clue.
which is kind of good because Dan's not great with clues.
Whatever. Mine were great every time he whined, and every time it was great. That's all I'm saying.
It's just because I'm
that
good at guessing. I made up for all that. Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically the game. If these decks ever run out, you just start top decking from the top of the deck. And also there was a thing that I got finished with my word before Bob did. So then we just started top decking also and filling up my letter. And now this isn't part of my word, but if we ever did this, like if I ever guessed this correctly, it would go in the middle and become a new wildcard letter. And now for the rest of the game, we can include L's in that. And that's awesome.
Yeah,
what a
cool
little rule idea. It did not happen to us. We won before it had come up.
Yep.
But that's a cool little thing. So yeah, that's how you play. So now we're going to go into kind of components and cover what we think of the game components before we go into our final thoughts and rating.
What's in the box?
So when it comes to the components, it's got these little chips. I just did like the chips, right, for numbering the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the letters in your thing. Although it did come with 5 number 9s for some reason. I'm not sure why there's 5 9s. Maybe there's something else in the book we're missing, or maybe it was just a mispackage, because I don't know why you would need 5 of those and not of the other ones. And I kept saying, like, man, it's so weird. Why do they put fruit? There's like kiwis and lemons and oranges. We're like, oh yeah, it's jam. It's literally lettered jam. So that's probably why they use the fruit on the tile or on the chips. But the chips are nice. They got a nice heft to them. The cards are very simple and they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm not sure if these little designs mean anything in some kind of a weird language or whatnot. It came with a bunch of pencils that weren't sharpened. Like, why would they send us unsharpened pencils? But then they also give you a pencil sharpener, which is unique. And if you haven't sharpened pencils in a long time, or probably since like the 80s, that's how they used to sharpen pencils back in the day. My biggest complaint is they say, take a red or a green. And it's like, really? Red or green? And they're very similar. They're not very red. They're not very green. And I could not tell the difference between the 2 bits. So there was Dan to help with that. But as long as you remember that, you got to get rid of the outside ones before you can take an inside one. It eliminates the issue of the color. But they very easily could have been any color. So I don't know why they decided to do like the 2 most common colorblind colors. The score pads, it says each box comes with a score pad. Our box came with 5 score pads. So again, it leads me to the, well, maybe they just mispacked it somehow, and like we ended up with 5 score pads and 5 of these. Maybe the guy that was doing those was just really excited that day and just got too many into the box. I don't know, but when you pick up the box, it's super heavy. It's super heavy because there's literally 5 pads of paper inside there.
Yeah, also, I'm going to point this out since we're here.
Yeah.
It does not mention the 9s in the entire rulebook, not even the components page.
Wow. So yeah, I'm guessing it probably just supposed to be a 9 because on your sheet it does have 9 ... So maybe
Right.
you could have a 10-letter word, which I don't know why you'd want to give a 10-letter word clue.
Jeez.
That would be so difficult. Be like,
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. Like it could be anything.
Is it anti-disestablishmentarianism?
It is.
Oh my
You
God.
win.
So this is a T.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like that's basically it for components, right? That was everything in the box. Those
Yeah.
standees are fine. It's nice because they don't damage the cards, right? They're opened enough to
Mhm.
where they slide in and out real easy. Didn't feel like it was going to damage cards because that's a issue you see sometimes with standee things is they like to beat up the bottom of the cards.
Yeah, no, you pretty much covered everything. Cards seem nice quality. This thing, your little player sheet folds like this and
Yep,
kind of
little
becomes your little shield.
Yep,
I
little
guess.
dotted line to tell you where to do it at, so that's kind of handy.
Yeah, no insert. And rule
don't need
book was, I mean, pretty basic. You saw the rules of the game. There's nothing too complicated here. If anything, it's just funny how leniently it takes itself. I'm just
Sure.
like, yeah, you know, whatever.
Yeah, you basically won.
You know what you're playing.
Yeah.
You know, so that's really nice.
Mhm.
I guess one thing I didn't cover was on the back of these, it has a thing that you can do. You don't have to, but it's like you know, how many clues did it take you, whatever, and you
Okay.
and you get
so
a
many
scoring.
fruits
It's
for
like
those.
it's like something like that. Yeah, games tend to
Sure.
have that a lot, but it's an optional scoring thing that you can give yourself. So but yeah. So that's all the components that come in the box, guys.
Mhm.
Next, we're going to cover our final thoughts, and we're going to rate the game on a scale of 1 to 10. Bob will go more in depth on that in just a second.
I had a really good time. So we're both going to rate this on a scale of 1 to 10, including 0.5s. We're going to take those scores, then we average them together, and then that's going to be the score that you find on like BGG or Discord and everything else. So that way you know what the board game rundown has rated it. And so, Dan, what are your final thoughts on the game?
Oh yeah, so this was a fun game. I'm really bad at word games, and I have to kind of choose whatever. I did totally fine this time, but I just take longer to think. I don't know if I just overanalyze or something, or also I like having like big cool words. You know, like I was using this almost every time. And Bob was being a whiny baby.
I
and then,
was.
meanwhile, on his turn, he was like 3. I was like,
Yeah, because the
So
goal is to make sure you
boring.
get the right answer. And
So
like, yeah, I can. Okay, look,
boring.
there's literally no other words you can spell with this clue. No, we don't want to use that one.
yeah. But I just tend to overthink maybe or something, and so I have to pick my groups with word games carefully because you're gonna get in that group where one person's just like, God, how did you not see that word? Or you're gonna get in one group where we have multiple friends, right, that would feel totally uncomfortable playing a game like this because they would feel judged the whole time and stuff. Like I'm bad at them and I'm uncomfortable that way, but I don't freak out about being judged. That's just not me. But I know people that would, and so like, oh, I'm not gonna think of a good word, and like it's totally fine. You're gonna have that. But I had a really fun time. I liked the way this works. Again, I'm a huge Conclusio fan. I really like Hanabi. I know that a lot of the people on the panel, are so on that one.
Mhm.
But this one has that same kind of hidden
It does.
information working together to try to figure out what's in front of me. But then it's rounds, right? In Conclusio, you just figure out the thing that's in front of you, right?
Mhm.
In Hanabi, I guess there are rounds,
Mhm.
right? But you're building up that
Sure.
thing as you're
And that's a lot
playing
more
them.
abstract, I feel. Like, this is like
Yeah.
a word. It's something tangible,
Sure.
f-
Yeah.
to figure out where it's
More
not
relatable
just,
than a
yeah.
fake fireworks show. That's
Exactly.
For, that's
yes.
for sure. But yeah, so I mean, going off of all that, I'm really excited to play with more people, and I feel like that's affecting my score, which it shouldn't,
Sure.
but it totally is. Man, I really like the idea of this game here. I'm gonna fall in an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. In the category of word games, I
Mhm.
think it deserves an 8. This was a
Sure.
really fun word game. Now I might rate some big grandiose Euro game an 8, and that does not mean that they're comparable in my head, right? But in their own categories, I think that's what they deserve
and
and what I would
that's-
give them.
And that's what's fair.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna fall in an 8 for Letter Jam.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with Dan. I think this would be definitely interesting to play with like a lot with more people to see how that works out. I'm a little concerned that with too many people, you will have the people bumping heads. Like, I want to get my clue. No, I want to get my clue, and that's a little worrisome. I love word games. I love like code names. I really enjoyed this. I enjoy like categories or taboo or just basically any kind of like word association or word guessing games, spelling games, even Scrabbles. I enjoy.
Blank Slate.
Blank slate. Yeah, great. Just one.
Yeah.
Now is this the level of just one? Probably not.
Sure.
But because it's not doesn't quite have that that quite feel to
Right.
it. But I did really enjoy it. I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you and give it an 8.
Okay.
I think it's enjoyable and the components are fine. It's a little frustrating,
Yeah,
but it's irrelevant for the most part.
I didn't comment on that. I really like the way those two colors look together, but it's just that classic Christmas green red kind of thing.
That
together,
looks nothing
you
like
know?
Christmas to me.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, but I totally get it. Like, if you're designing a board game in the modern world, you have to keep an eye on colorblind, and like the most common colorblind is red green.
Yep.
I don't even know if that's what you have and stuff.
It
you
is.
know, okay, but
Yep.
like you have to know going into a game that red green is super important. And
Yep.
yes. For this game, it's such a small abstract thing that you could just have
It's
me
irrelevant.
control the
Sure.
whole game.
Yeah,
I
but
could just slide them to
here
you
you
and
go.
slide them to
Here
me.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get it, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah.
why? Why did you choose those two colors?
Yeah,
Right.
and I didn't really let it impact my score because of it. One being cooperative, so somebody else can just kind of manage it anyway.
Right.
Because a lot of times when it's a strategy game, I'm like, well, I don't want to ask, because then they're obviously no one looking at that. You know what I
Right.
mean? But for this, it's irrelevant, so I didn't dock it down. Right? So if it had been relevant, it probably would have been a 7.5. But if you take our scores and you,
Oh
it's gonna be an
my
8.
goodness,
Yeah.
it's an 8. I did
Shocker.
that one.
Yeah. How did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So an 8 for Letter Jam, guys. What do you guys think? This is
Yeah.
a very popular
Super
game
light.
that we're actually just playing for the
Yeah.
first
Oh,
time.
really? Yeah,
Finally.
yeah.
This was all over for a long time. I remember
Okay.
hearing about it, and so you guys have probably already played it. Let us know in the comment section below what you guys thought and how ridiculous it is that we took so long.
So long to
play
get to
this
it.
game.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. We do a podcast every week, multiple reviews every week. We try to get as much as we can to you guys. So if you enjoyed this video and you're new here, see if you like other stuff. Stick around. I hope to see you in a future video. But anyway, from the Board Game Rundown, I've been Dan,
That was Bob.
and this was Letter Jam from CGE. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for checking out the Board Game Rundown. If you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Share our videos on social media and spread the word. We publish new content weekly, including reviews, unboxing, and Let's Plays. And as always, thanks for watching.